Hey everybody, Dave Clark, aka the Pattern Guy. Hey, we're in the pattern shop again today. Like I said, we're probably going to be here for a while. Got a lot of pattern work going here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to continue working on this one arm with you guys. Bracket arm it's called. It's a bronze one. Where I ran into some issues with what's on the drawing and the casting. I called the customer and he basically said just make everything off the casting, go off the casting. So I had everything pretty much laid out, halfway laid out, and like I'll say, especially when you first get going, make a layout, okay? I'm cheating. I've been doing this for a while. There's really not much to this one. I've done things like this numerous times. I'm gonna cheat. I'm getting way behind. Like I said, it's I got the purchase order. I didn't even start working on this stuff for a week later. Holidays are messing things up. By the way, I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to mostly work off the casting. All right, I've got it, half laid out in that, and we're just going to go from there. I'm going to show you how to make all the piece parts, how to get this thing together. Okay, and that's what I want to do mostly, just show you guys the woodwork and how to get things going here. So. What we started doing, if you didn't watch the last video, I glued this stock up. I got one center line here, and then what we're going to do from here, I got a couple, we're going to call this the horizontal center line. I got a couple vertical center lines where we're going to take, we got to put some bosses on there, okay? So, a couple ways you can go about doing the bosses and making the bosses. I got this block. This is how I found out we have some discrepancies with the drawing and the casting. The drawing says these bosses are the same height. On the casting, they're not. All right. So the customer said to go buy the casting, so we're going to buy the casting. Okay. So I got. One side is 1 5/8", the other side's 1.5 inches. All right, so this is inch plus machining too. Okay, so we got to add 1/8 of an inch machining. So the 1 5/8" will become 1 3/4, 1.5 inches, 1 5/8". Okay, so I milled this block down. I got it 1 3/4 height already. Okay, and we'll be able to get both of the bosses out of this. Okay. So there's two ways we can go about making these bosses, and I'll tell you the different methods here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this one, like I said, they're going to do, I think maybe a few dozen of these castings. So obviously you want to build your pattern as tough as you can, because these people are paying for this. That it's your reputation and everything. However, along with that also there's different ways to go about it, and this is going to go back to the way the grain is with the wood. We got to get more into the grain with the woodworking that. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do, I got the grain running this way here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out the top of the two ways you can lay out. The way I'm going to show you is we're going to put centers on here, okay? Then we'll strike our arc on here, cut it out. That way when we place it on here, we can either line it up with our center lines, which is really the best way to do things, because if they change this down the road or you made a mistake or whatever, you can always go back to center lines, okay, and figure out where you went wrong if, center lines aren't measuring up to the drawing or the casting or whatever. Okay, the other way you could do this, if you're just making like one of these really quick, what you can do is we got the center lines on here. You can strike the arc of the circle on here and then just pop your boss on there, okay? But you're not gonna know the centers, and it's easier to, like I said, it's a little more of a pain in the butt to go the extra line and put your centers all the way around, but in the long run, you know, it could save you down the road. And I apologize too. I'm having a hard time breathing. This stuff is, like I said, this is a piece of African mahogany. It's got a cedar scent to it, so it's getting up my sinuses here. So I got an issue with that, with my sinuses. So what I'm going to do here, okay, you get your marking gauge out, and I just had it right here, right in front of me here. Okay, so the diameter of the bosses, both of them, then we're going to do, like I said, we're going to lay it out from the top plus. Alright, so it's 2.5 inches. So we got to go 1.25 inches is the half radius, alright, but we got to add drafts. So instead of, you know, 1.25 inches, we'll add a good 1/8. So we'll go about 1 3/8 in from the edge. So I'm going to, you can either do this 2 ways too. Like I said, you can measure over here, and it's probably, this is the best way to do it when you're, especially when you're just first starting out. Take your knife, okay, put your mark, then you take your center or your marking gauge, put your scribe in there, and then we're gonna do, and this is the way I do this all the time, and I suggest you guys get in the habit of doing this. Okay, so there's the top. We're going to put them on the bottom also, okay? So we're going to wrap it all the way around. It doesn't take that much longer, but you got your centers everywhere. You shouldn't have an issue. Okay, so now we got to do our vertical center line. We'll do the same thing. We'll go in 2 3/8, okay, from the, or 1 3/8 in from the edge. Okay, put our knife mark. All right, now I'm going to carry this all the way around to the bottom. So this is going to go on the side. This side one will actually disappear when we sand out the circle, okay? But we'll have it on the bottom, okay? Another way you can do this, I'll show you, let me pick this up. Okay, another way you could have done that also is we could have scribed a square line out here, sanded this square, and you could have used the marking gauge also. If that's the way you want to do it, that's another way you can do it, okay? So you take your pencil, get your lines going here, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to scribe the circle here. We're going to cut it out on a bandsaw, sand it, and then what I'll do is I'll take the rest of this block's got to go down to the 1 5/8, okay? So we'll do that, and then we'll do it again, okay? So here's another thing you guys do. Like I said, when you're looking at your drawings, there's always, most always, unless somebody hand drew something for you real quick, there's always a title box on there. So always look in your title box, and it'll give you tolerances for the dimensions. Some of them will give you the shrinkage if it's a true pattern drawing. This actually is a machine drawing. However, they do on here have the draft. They call out the draft. They want 3 degrees draft on this stuff. Okay, so we'll put 3 degrees draft on there. All right, so what I'm going to do, here is why you lay these out too, okay? So, easy thing, just take your dividers and get your circle on there, and then I'm just going to double check. Like I'll say, I go both ways because I like to double check myself because I'm by myself. I don't have anybody to double check myself. So, all right, then we're going to scribe the circle on here. Okay. Make sure that you get a good, make sure you get your point in there on center, okay? And then you don't just, you know, screw it around. You, and I got out my point there. We kind of make little short, little cuts like this, okay? Because like I said, what happens is that the divider scribe will actually, it'll start following the grain, you know, and then you'll make it so that you don't, your circle's not correct, okay? So there's that. And what I'm going to do, save a little bit of time, try to teach you guys a little bit more. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out and sand it out. You guys see me use the bandsaw, you see me use the sander. Alright, so I'm going to go do that real quick. I'll be right back. Okay guys, got 2 bosses made. Got my center lines all around. It's not necessary to put your center lines down the sides. And actually, you know, it's going to be a pain later for things drawing. You're kind of putting a hole in there so you don't want to. But you just wrap the bottom center line up. I'll get you close up to show you what to do there. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm not going to glue these on piece by piece by piece by piece. I'm just going to make a whole bunch of stuff and glue them because, like I said, this is a pattern that, you know, it's going to be a, it's going to be a legit good pattern. So what we got to do is we're going to have to put some clamps on these things, and they're going to have to sit for a few hours. So what we'll do is I'm going to make all the bosses. We're going to glue them on, clamp them up, and then from there what we'll do is start making the ribs for this thing, okay? Alright, so I digressed a little bit before when I was explaining the grain on these, okay? So this is the way the boss is sitting, and my grain is going this way, okay? Now this is, it's fine, it's mahogany. I mean, this literally probably would last hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of molds. However, when I was at Arrow, we would do a lot of, even believe it or not, wood patterns. We were kind of like a, I guess say it, like a medium-sized shop. I mean, the medium-sized patterns we would do were probably about that big. So that would be a lot cost prohibitive to do in urethane or aluminum or whatever. So, you know, we'd make fairly big-sized pattern that, you know, had the law, you know, we're going to make 10,000 pieces off it or whatever, you know, high volume basically. Okay, so a lot of times when we did the bosses, what we would do is we'd have the end grain shooting up, okay, and what that does is it just doesn't wear as quick. This is, like I said, sand is going to be hitting this all the time. Alright, it's going to start wearing the edges down in that, so when the grain is standing straight up, it's not as bad. And with that too, it's like when we get down to foundry, we got that tamper, right? So if you hit when the grain's straight up and down, you're gonna have less tendency to bust things and break things off and that. So it's different. Like I said, this grain going horizontal should be good. And then speaking of the edges with these two, here's a couple things you're doing. A lot of times, traditionally, we were told to build the pattern. You build it up. And what happens is you want to keep your edges square all the time, okay? Because you might have to measure off of it, okay? The second pattern shop I was in, they always like to, you know, they would make these things and then they would take a router in and put a round over bit in and, you know, zap them. You know, that's something you guys are going to have to figure out how you want to do things the best way that you want to do things. But I think personally it takes a little bit longer, and you know, if you got a router bit in there, sure enough, I mean, it's going to be way quicker. You're going to have a real nice thing. If I do these by hand, you know, there's going to be a little bit of variation here and there, but it to me in the long run it's easier because, like I said, you get the square corner to measure from, things like that, you know. So it's whatever way you want to do it. I got like a nice little trim router. I always put a core bit box in there and just or a round over and just zap these if I wanted to or whatever. So like I said, that one's up to you. But we traditionally, like when I was at Arrow, we would build the pattern then finish it, okay? So another important thing, like I said, these two are two different heights, 1/8 of an inch different. Okay, so you definitely do not want to get these mixed up. Put AA, BB, you know, whatever, okay? Sneepy, sneezy, happy, dopey, whatever you want to put on these things. Numbers. Alright, so this one, like I said, we're working off the casing mostly, so we're doing it this way. So this top one, and like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to build the top one first, then, you know, get it all cut out, pin them, and then we'll trace around it and cut the second one out, okay? So measuring the casing, take our standard rule, right? So that boss is the 1.5 inch high one. All right, so 1.5 inches plus the 1/8 is 1 5/8. So I know that's the smaller one. We'll measure it. So I'm just going to put an A on here. And then this is the side of the pattern that I want to use here. I got a bad piece of lead. This thing keeps on breaking. Okay, we're just going to put a B on here. I've got nothing laid out over here, but I know approximately where that's going to go. Alright, so next of all, I got these two big ones. I'm going to go ahead and make these small ones, okay? And like I said, where I'm getting most of this material, minus this, is from all those off-cut pieces that I have. So it's always nice to have that. Like I said, if it gets too overwhelming for you, which it does for me every once in a while, I'll just burn some of it in that. So, but always keep these, because like these came out of there. Everything else is just going to come out of that pile. All right, so let me go find another piece of wood where we can make these other smaller bosses. I'll be right back. Okay guys, I got the smaller ones done too. I can't remember what I said just a bit ago. I want to glue these on. I think I said I could do both sides. I'm not going to be able to do both sides. We don't have the layout. So like I told you not to. Okay, so anyhow, what you do with these is try to get this up close. Okay, like I said, you don't need to put the mark all the way up. Okay, you know, connect them here. Just need to put them up a little bit. And the very bottom of them, you know, all you gotta do is take your knife and just curl it up a little bit, okay? And then you just match it up to your center lines, all right? So another thing, you always try to think ahead. Like I say, you want to paint yourself in a corner. One of the other things I had to do was I had to put this radius here, this arc here, that was from this center line here. So if I would have had that boss way up here, all right, this is the boss that goes on here. All right, so if I were to swing this arc from up here, okay, what would have happened with that would be I would have set my trammels at the measurement I had to be out to, and you know, being up higher, it's going to pull the trammel points where I'm going to spring the arc in closer, right? So I had to make sure that, you know, we did that first. So I got that arc on there. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to glue these two on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, what's called spot glue them. And the reason, like I said, I'm not going to put glue all the way. I'm just going to put a couple spots on here. I'm going to push it on there, let it sit for about 10 minutes, and I'm going to clamp it, let them clamp for about 10 minutes, or about 4 hours, you know, around there. And the reason you're going to spot glue these, like I said, down the road, if I got to change this or if I did something wrong, it's easier to just take a chisel and they'll pop right off, okay? So, well, that's not a good thing because we want to make this pattern good and sturdy, okay? And that, but here again, like I said, we're going to be mounting this to a piece of plywood. There's going to be bosses up, or not bosses, we're going to put ribs up there too, so the ribs will help hold them on and everything. And all the fillets will help hold them on also. Okay, so you want to build them rugged, but however, it's always, I don't know if it's like an insecurity with pattern makers or whatever, just in case down the road something happens, we can take them apart a little bit easier. Okay, so that's why we do that, but it'll be good. Okay, so I'm going to get that going, and while I'm going to do that, and these are gluing up, I'm going to start making the ribs for this thing too. Okay. And I'll let you in on that as we're going. And even though we got the clamps on there, I could still probably, we'll still probably be able to put ribs on and kind of keep it going as we're going. You know, I could clamp the ribs on. I want to clamp the ribs on also. So we'll be able to do all that kind of stuff when we got the clamps. And then probably what I'll do is once I get all these parts made, we'll clamp it up, and then what I'll do is I'll probably let, like I said, I got some other things doing. I'm still doing that little brass production job here. I got to make a little fixture for that. I was going to show you how to do that. I'm going to pass on that. I'm going to just do a real quick one, kind of a garbage one for right now. I just got to get 200 of these out real quick. I'll make a better one next time I do these things, so we'll show you that. But what I'll probably do is I'll probably go ahead and make all the ribs for this thing. We'll clamp it up. I'll let it sit overnight, and then tomorrow we'll pick up and we'll cut it out, and we'll do the back side of it, the other side, and then that should be built. And what I'm going to do from there too is, I probably could just go ahead and finish this one and that. But like I always tell you guys, we're going to try to do things as efficiently as we can. I dropped the ball on this one. The other pattern that I got to make, like I said, we're going to make a master, pour a mold, and make another, make 2 urethane patterns. So probably would have been more, probably would have been smarter for me to make that one first. And well, I was making the mold, pouring the molds, I could have been working on this one. And then, I had to pour a pattern, then I could come back and work on this one, pour the second pattern. It probably would have been the smarter way to go. But I think this one, we had the casting here, and I was a little excited to get with you guys making the patterns here. So let me glue these 2 on, and then when I start making the ribs, I'll turn you guys back on and show you how you do the ribs and where we're going to put them on and all that. Okay, hang tight. Okay guys, continuing on with this arm here, what we're going to do, I got the 2 bosses are glued on here, okay? So what I want to start doing from now, or from here, I want to make some ribs. I got to make the ribs, okay? So they're mostly 3/4 by 3/4. Alright, so I got to get some stock off of this. So a lot of times you kind of think, I got to find a piece of like 4/4, mill it down to 3/4, and then make the 3/4 width with the draft net, okay? So I don't have any 8/4 or 4/4 up here, so I got this piece of 8/4 here. So that's 2 inches, 2 inches. So if I split it half, inch, right? So if I mill this 3/4, get a 3/4 piece right here. Right, so it'll be 3/4 by 2 inches. I'll be able to have enough for 2 3/4 inch wide pieces. Okay, so sometimes you gotta think out of the box with this kind of stuff. You don't always have to have, 3/4 inch thick piece to get 3/4. Okay, so you can use other pieces like this. Okay, so a lot of times too, it's like, oh, you're gonna waste that 2 inch piece. Well, no, you're not. You're still making something out of it for one thing. This is the thing you gotta kind of get in your head too. You use this wood to make things, and I don't want to. I probably should say this, but it's like Dean. He mills lumber. Okay, he gets logs in, mills lumber. It irks him so bad if somebody buys lumber off of him to make a project and they paint it, or he sells guitar blanks. People want to buy those and they'll make something else out of it. He goes, oh, it's a guitar. Well, they're paying you. If they want to go throw it in a fireplace, that's their business, right? He gets pissed as all get out. I've got old, a lot of times what we use, what's called sugar pine. When I worked at Aero Aluminum, sugar pine was, I used to order the lumber. I was getting mahogany for $267. This was 95. I left there in 95, so I was paying $267 a board foot for mahogany. I was paying $460 a board foot for sugar pine, and it's kind of weird because the mahogany's imported, and the sugar pine, actually, most of it comes from out west. Okay, it's really nice. So I actually have, years and years and years ago, probably 60 years ago, my dad got laid off from Ford for a little while, went and worked in a job shop, did a bunch of work for the guy, and he couldn't pay him cash, so he gave him a whole bunch of wood. My dad's like, I'll take a bunch of wood. So a lot of the mahogany I have are actually from there. You got a bunch of sugar pine there also. So I've got, boards of sugar pine, maybe, good 2 feet, 30 inches wide, 4 feet by 8/4 or whatever. And, Dean wants to buy them off me. I'm like, No, it's pattern making. Well, he's like, oh, you're just gonna cut it up and make little pieces. Well, that's what it's for, okay? You use what you can, use it as efficiently as you can, okay? Like I said, a lot of people are like, oh, you don't want to use 8/4, you could use 8/4 down the road. If I need 8/4 down the road for a project, you charge your customer for the piece of 8/4 and go out and buy it, okay? Just use what you've got. This is what I have, this is the most efficient thing I'm gonna do right now. Okay, so it's just trying to get you into the, just the different ways of doing things, okay? So, a couple things with this thing. As usual, my joiner, like my dad says, get rid of the joiner because you never use it. I use it every day. I got stuff on it. So that's pretty much why it stays. So, one of these days I would like to get it out of here. I got a couple other machines I'd like to bring in here. So, usually what we would do is run this over the joiner, get a square edge on there, but I can't do that. So what I could do too, I could just rough cut this on a bandsaw 1 inch, run it through the thickness planer till I get it 3/4. I'm just going to run this across the sander, get a straight edge, mark 3/4, and cut the 3/4 to width. Oh, most accurate, not most accurate. Like I said, I've been doing this for 40 years. I'll get this close enough. I guarantee I'll get it just as close as I can with the thickness planer, okay? And it's just different ways to do things, okay? So let me get this done. You guys seen me do that before. And once I get the stock out, I'll show you how we're going to cut things for the pattern. Start putting them on. See you in a minute. Okay guys, I got 2 pieces, 3/4 width, okay? It was 1 piece, but for me to stand this up, run it across the sander over there, it was easier. I just cut them to fairly where I'm going to need just a little bit, okay? Then the next step, what I did, I went ahead and put my draft angle on here, okay? Remember it said 3 degrees? So I put 3-degree angle on there. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, and I lost which way I'm going, that's my top. So this is where you can, find out which, okay, so I'm on my top both ways. Another thing you can do, top, just put a couple marks on there, so that way you don't lose where you're at, okay? So, get my marking knife, put my 3/4 inch mark here. Okay. I always got to mark it with my pencil because my eyes are getting bad here, so. Alright. And actually this is already set because we set that for the height, right? So I got the height or the width of the, no, that'd be the height, yep. Okay, and then I'm going to put both marks on there because I sanded both sides, right? So, making 2 ribs out of each one here, alright? So what I'll do is take these back over to the bandsaw, split them in half, and then we're going to take them over to the sander, sand them to the width, to the line, and then we'll have our rib stock, and we'll show you where we're going to go from there. Okay? And hopefully this should be enough. I'm hoping, we'll find out. We'll keep our fingers crossed. I'm thinking that we should. So yeah, that should be plenty. We should have plenty to do all the ribs on here. So yeah, let me go cut these out and I'll get back with you. Okay guys, we got the ribs cut out. I'll show you how we're gonna cut them out. I want to look at them a little bit different because one of them actually, it extends past the ribs. I was gonna put an extra piece on there, but I'm gonna try to make it all in one. So I want to study that a little more. One of the things that we one of the bosses we did make, we have the one horizontal boss here at the end here, okay? So we got to make this boss here. All right, so the way I'm going to do it, as usual, there's a bunch of different ways we can do it, okay? So what I could do is I could just take 2 pieces. What I like to do, you could either clamp them together. The way I like to do it, I like to spot glue it real quick. Don't clamp it, just spot glue it, and then you can pop them apart in a little bit, All right, just let it sit for 15-20 minutes, okay? So what we gotta do is, that's kind of like a half radius, so it's sitting on that 3/8 inch piece, right? So you can't just, make this radius. All right, if I put both of these together, I could put the radius, it's in the side view, it's 2.25 inch diameter, so an inch and a eighth, right? Be inch and an eighth radius, all right? So if I take my dividers, inch and an eighth, and put a circle on here, go circle this out, I'm gonna be 3/8 too high because it's got to go on that 3/8 main body part, okay? So we got to take 3/8 of an inch off. So I could go ahead and do what I just said, do the inch eighth, get my 2.25 inch boss, and then we could sand off 3/8 of an inch, okay? But a lot of you guys don't have sanders. An alternative way you can do it, okay, same thing, just spot glue. I got stock left over from, the 3/8 body. So what you can do is you can stack them up, all right, get your centers all the way around, okay, and then what you can do is, put your inch 8 radius on there and just sand it out, and then just pop everything together and boom, you're done. That'd probably be a little more accurate. Like I said, it'd probably be easier for guys that don't have it. So what I'm going to do though is I'm just going to go ahead and spot glue these two together, square this block up, go all the way around, and then I'm just going to cut. For me, it's just easier to cut it off on the band, so I got the big sander over here, and boom. Okay, so that's a couple different ways you can do it. Okay, like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and spot glue these together, and then we'll let it sit for 10-15 minutes or so. We'll square it up and cut that. Okay, so we'll have that. I'll start doing some ribs too with you. Like I said, I want to take a look at this. Let's see how things go. I might cut this one short, and then we'll finish up gluing up the ribs tomorrow, possibly. We'll do this in segments, okay? We might go ahead and just do that. Let me see how quick I can get this done. Hang tight. Okay guys, I got my 2 half bosses for the horizontals done. Got my center line on there. I'm going to glue that on there, clamp it, and then what I'm going to do is, like I said, what we could do is, start putting the ribs in that, but what I'm going to do is just going to leave this. I'm going to start working on that, come on, the little drill fixture. I'm going to finish that up for the rest of my evening here. Get that done. Like I said, I'm just going to make a quick one for now. We'll make a permanent one down the road, and I'll show you that one. But I got 200 of these things I got to get done really quick. So I'm just going to make one, like I said, not a permanent one. So I'll do that, and then when I do the permanent fixture, I'll, show you guys how I do that. And then tomorrow I do have to go up to Mom's house and do some work up there for her. But what I'll try to do is I'll try to get up fairly early, get a couple hours out here and do the ribs and that, and try to get get this pattern wrapped up with you guys, and then we'll move on to one of the other ones. All right, so anyhow, I'll cut you guys loose today. We'll get back at this one and try to finish it up on the next viewing, and like I said, get some more done. All right, so anyhow, I'd appreciate if you guys subscribe. We had an influx of a bunch of guys that, for a little bit, kind of cooled down a little bit. See if we can get some of your buddies to subscribe for me, keep this thing going. Push the like button, I'd appreciate that. And with that, everybody out there, have a good one and stay safe.